Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Art of the Graceful Revolution, the show where I talk to you about grace and mercy and giving ourselves a damn break already, and where we talk about, you know, sometimes the revolution is within. So I am really, really happy to be here with y'all. I've been thinking a lot about what to talk with you about this week and have been thinking about oh just all the things that are happening in the United States and around the world. As of this recording, it is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. There's a lot going on. I want to talk about a couple of things astrologically that are happening right now, and then talk a little bit about the ideas of isolation and feeling helpless and maybe hopeless, and how we can use the tactics of the Art of the Graceful Revolution to help decrease those feelings. So I'm really, really happy to be here with all of you. And so right now, we are in the middle of a Mercury retrograde, which means communication could probably be feeling a little bit off. We are also experiencing, we're actually exactly at the midpoint between eclipses right now. So we're in between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. And it's also almost spring equinox. Spring equinox is this week, and we also are transitioning from the sign of Pisces to the sign of Aries. And so there's the turbulence that is happening in the country right now is also the turbulence that we are feeling inside of us. And I just really want to give honor to these feelings that you may be having about just the turbulence of what's going on in the world. And these feelings of turbulence are really rooted in what we know about it, what is happening astrologically. And I think the part of the revolution that I think is really important is in the honoring of our feelings and our emotions and what we have going on inside of us in regards to things that we can't control. So a lot of what you might be experiencing, the upheaval that you might be connecting with, has to do with these ideas about just the total lack of control that we feel right now. And I used to have my teacher who actually taught me clairvoyance. Really, one of the things that she said, her name's Eileen, and one of the things she said to me years ago was that there really is nothing on the earth that we are meant to control. And I think that that is such an important thing for us to think about, because we're not meant to control things. And the need to control is really anchored and rooted in structures of oppression. And I was actually listening to a comedy show this week, and with Eliza, I can't remember her last name, Iliza, and she was actually talking about how when you start a sentence with something about the patriarchy, no one ever says, "Oh, let me get closer so I can hear what you are saying," which cracked me up, because I thought, well, if that's not the truth. And so part of the revolution and part of the graceful revolution is releasing ourselves from the academics of language, that when we try to intellectualize or rationalize or control how we are communicating in the world, it leads to a false sense of the narrative. And I mean, I'm all about talking about the patriarchy, but I think if we're going to be engaging people in the year of our Lord 2025 in different conversations, then one of the things that I really want to encourage you to think about is, how do we change the way we think about communication, connection, the way we talk to ourselves and other people? How do we change the narrative so that it is more heart-centered and soul-centered, and pulls us out of intellectualizing or trying to make things more academic? And one of the things that I want to encourage us to think about is the instability that we are all experiencing right now. And we're experiencing that instability because there are structures in place at this moment with the government, with leaders, with very wealthy people that are intentionally connecting us to the feelings of instability that we are experiencing. And if we give ourselves more grace, if we connect more to our heart and our soul, what we really start to realize and recognize is that during times of instability, the stabilizing factor that every single one of us carries as a human being is our ability to connect with our heart. And so, as you are moving through your days, I want to invite you and give you explicit permission to intentionally breathe into that heart, to really open up your heart. Because when we do that, it creates a stabilizing force within our bodies. It centers us. The heart is actually the center of our bodies. It's not our tummy. It's really our heart. I've said this before. I don't know if I've said this on this show, but ballerinas stand with their hands like this in a circle because it's the center of gravity. And the hands and the arms are the conduit to the heart. So when we remember that, when we are experiencing feelings of anger and sadness and grief, whether it be about what's happening in the government or what's happening in our communities or what's happening even in our own lives and with our own personal selves and our own family and friends, we end up connecting to this gravitational force that pulls us into our center. And when we operate from that center, then even if the world feels unstable around us, we are still rooted in our true knowing, and because we have this north star that lives inside of us called the heart. And when we do that, we feel less isolated because we're connected to something much larger and grander than we are. And I think oftentimes people talk about the universe or God or spirit in these ways that feels almost too grandiose and intangible. But when we are centered and rooted into this heart space, then what happens is that what feels intangible becomes more solid and tangible. I want you to think about this light. I don't know if you grew up with ET like I did, but that heart light that ET has, like we all have that. And it's a little beacon that goes out to other people. I love this image that goes out to other people in the world that says, "Hi, I love you. I love me. Um, I love connecting. I love being part of this beautiful planet." And there's so much grace in that. And that's really revolutionary. This idea of opening up our heart light. I just love this image I'm getting right now, you guys. It's so beautiful. Opening up our heart light as this little beacon that kind of boop, boop, boop goes out into the world and says, "Hi, I'm here with you. I too am struggling. I too am scared. I too am frustrated and angry and pissed off and all of these things that we're feeling right now. And also, this little heart of mine has mercy for myself and for others." And when we tap into that mercy, when we really have mercy for ourselves and mercy for others, and we realize that we're all just doing the best we can with the information that we have right now at this very moment, then we feel less isolated and alone. And these wackadoodle feelings of instability that we might be experiencing give us a touch point and an anchor point. And the reason that's so revolutionary is because people don't want us to understand that. People who crave power and control don't want us to have a clear understanding of our own hearts. And that is truly revolutionary, because if we can tap into this energy of our heart, which by the way never stops beating, it keeps going. It Even when we sleep, our heart still pumps until we leave this earthly plane. We don't have to do anything. Like, we don't have to be like, today on my to-do list, I will have my heartbeat, right? Our hearts just beat, and our hearts move this blood throughout our bodies. And if we're tapped into that source of love, um, our hearts have this capacity to connect with other people. I just have this beautiful image in my head of all of us being like ET and like shining our heart lights on other people. It makes me feel very warm and fuzzy inside. Um, so if you are feeling isolated, if you're feeling like you're screaming into the ether, if you're feeling like you just can't catch a break, return to the heart. And throughout life, throughout lifetimes, there's so much writing about the heart and about love, whether it's platonic love or romantic love or the love of the divine. People have been writing for eons about that connection. So when we're connected to ourselves in that way, we become connected to all in that way, which is very revolutionary. And it's certainly very much what people don't want us to do. Because when we walk through the world and operate from that space, what it does is it increases our capacity for compassion. And when we have an increased capacity for compassion, we're held in a we hold ourselves and other people in a totally different space. When I'm compassionate towards myself, when I laugh at myself, when I do things that make me feel happy, what happens is that I also end up having compassion for others. And listen, I'm not saying we're supposed to be happy all the time. Okay. Okay. I'm saying when we breathe into this heart and expand it out, our capacity for compassion builds. One way that I've been very compassionate with myself today is that I have been wearing my magical sunglasses. They're amazing. Look how beautiful they are. They sparkle. They instantly make me feel really ridiculously giddy. And I've been wearing them today because they bring me so much joy that even in the midst of difficult and hard conversations, I know that with these glasses, my heart is filled with happiness. And I've had some hard conversations today with people. I was invited to a meeting with people in my community to talk about my husband's job being rescinded and what the community can do to support other community members, including us, in what our potential financial needs are, because we've lost Jim's income. And there's something really powerful about people connecting. They feel hopeless, but they're connecting at this compassionate, heart-centered space from that space. And that's how we alleviate the feeling of hopelessness, to make it just a little bit lighter. I didn't notice I didn't use the word eliminate feelings of hopelessness. I said alleviate. So what we're going for here on a daily basis is just a slight lifting and alleviation of feelings of panic and anger and fear and hopelessness. And fear is really driving many people's trains right now. I have talked to many people who are very afraid. They're acting out at other people because they're afraid. And and when we let that fear be the driver of our decisions, we disconnect from our heart. We disconnect from other people. We dim down that heart light a little bit. And um when we are experiencing moments of hardship, or when we are feeling compromised by the actions of others, it takes us away from our spiritual strength and our ability and capacity to listen to ourselves and our intuition. And so I want you to think about how you can take those moments of hopelessness and actually tenderly love them. How can you take these moments of fear and tenderly love them? How can you take these moments of sadness and anguish and grief and tenderly love them? We are at a really quite a beautiful, horrifying, beautifully horrifying moment in our history as a planet, where what we are really being called towards is to be more loving and graceful. We're being challenged by this idea by people who aren't loving and graceful. And one of the things that I think will be so helpful to us as we think of the idea of the graceful revolution is to think about how can I have mercy and grace for myself and convey that mercy and grace for others. One of my favorite writers, Kate Bowler, talks about this in some of her writing, where she actually talks about this pressure to just be happy. And this idea of connecting to the idea that we also are living a messy life. And so sometimes it's really difficult to just be happy. And one of the things that Kate Buller says is, sometimes I just like to yell, "Not today, Barbara," which just the whole idea of that takes off the pressure of being happy. Because when we acknowledge our capacity to just feel everything we're feeling, when we acknowledge our capacity, we're able to alleviate pressure. And I love this idea of just walking around and being like, "Not today, Barbara." I'm going to start saying it to Jim, my husband, and see what happens, or my kids. That'll be fun. But like this idea of allowing ourselves to not fall into the pressure to just be happy, to this concept of spiritual bypassing, where we just bypass our feelings. What I'm talking about is really holding those feelings as we would a baby bird in our hand, and saying, "Oh, I love you. I'm feeling frightened. I'm wondering what my future holds." And being present to that in the present moment without trying to control or predict what our future holds opens us up to the mystery of life. And when we are opened up to the mystery of life, then we become more tethered and anchored to grace. I think about all of the times throughout history where people have ventured into the unknown amidst great wars and struggles and strife. I think about my Celtic ancestors and my Native American ancestors not knowing what the next day would bring or the next moment would bring, but but remaining present to what they were experiencing right now, connecting to this planet and the earth upon which they stood right now. And so, as you think about engaging in revolutionary acts, as we are being called to do at this moment, I want to invite you to look down. I'm sitting in my office right now, so I can't see the ground, but to look down and imagine the earth underneath your feet. Just take a moment right now to look down and imagine what lies under your home or the building that you're sitting in at the moment. Underneath all of the cement, all of these bricks, all of this wood, all of the things that hold our buildings up, underneath the rebar and the metal, there is dirt. There are worms. There are bugs. There's those creepy little centipedes. Underneath where you are sitting right at this moment is the soil. And the soil is beginning to soften with the beginnings of spring. The soil is, well, here in the northern hemisphere anyway, the soil is full of billions and billions of life forms. I don't know if you know this, but 1 cup of healthy soil contains billions of individual life forms. And there's so much wonder in imagining what is lying beneath us, what is continuing to live and grow beneath us. The spiders still continue to make their webs. The ants still continue to build their colonies. The worms continue to move through the soil, to fertilize the soil, to give it the aeration that it needs. We've never been able to stop that throughout times of strife and war and struggle. There's something so magnificently mysterious and beautiful about that knowledge. This idea that even as we wrestle, even as we engage in these acts of revolution, what we acknowledge when we acknowledge the life that lives beneath our feet is that will continue to go on and on as we move through each day. I want to really encourage you to be very present to this exact moment in time. What do you know to be true for yourself? What do you know is happening planetarily that might be bringing you a little bit of chaos? What do you know about your spirit, your soul? What are you craving right now? Not what were you craving 5 minutes ago or 5 hours ago or 5 years ago, but what do you have in your consciousness right now? Because when you understand that and you connect to it and you're clear about it, then you can engage in acts of daily revolution that nourish your life just like the soil beneath your feet is being nourished without you having to do anything. And this goes back to the pumping of the human heart. We don't have to do anything for our lungs to move, for our blood to move, for our brain to work. We don't have to do anything. And I'm wondering if we could take this time of upheaval and chaos and distress and realize that we don't have to do anything that doesn't resonate with the beating of our hearts. If I know I don't have to do anything that doesn't resonate with me, then I'm able to make the phone calls to Congress that I want to make, that I need to make, but that I don't have to make. When I think about where I am right at this moment, I know that I carry the knowledge of all of the people that came before me, all of my grandfathers, 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 and my grandmother's grandmother's grandmothers. I hold that within me. And if I know that, then I know that I too will survive this, because I wouldn't be here if they hadn't survived this. As you move forward from listening to this, be present with what you know. Honor the season that you are in at this moment. We are in the season of spring right now. We are getting ready to celebrate the equinox, which is the exact midpoint between winter solstice and summer solstice. This is the time when the light comes back out of the darkness. This is the time when new little plants are springing forth from the earth to raise their heads to the sun. This is the time when the birds are really chirping. This is the time when we can hear the song of our bodies. This is the time for you to explore the song that you carry within you. What does it tell you? What is that melody? What is the rhythm and the beating of your heart? As you make decisions to engage in acts of graceful revolution that will change your life, be present to what you carry inside of you right now. What do you know about your pain and your joy? What do you know about grief and love? What do you know about anger and happiness? How can you bless yourself with that knowledge? And how can you continue to move through knowing what you know right now? I turned 50 this year, and I just did an interview for a podcast where someone asked me what my 17-year-old self would say to me now. And I cried a lot, because my 17-year-old self was a hot mess, y'all. I didn't even know if I was going to make it to 18. I just knew I had to get out and go away from my home and my people and figure out who the heck I was. I was very destructive when I was 17. And I was thinking about this with the knowledge that I carry as a 50-year-old woman, that my 17-year-old self would be just totally blown that I have a TV show, that I get to connect with all of you, that I am wise and funny and talented and smart, and that I'm all the things I never, ever thought I could be when I was 17. And part of that is because of this idea of the graceful revolution, that when I listen to the beating of my heart and I give myself a damn break, I'm pretty cool. And I'm pretty amazing. And it took me a long time to be in a place where I could say that out loud to all of you. So I want to encourage you to reflect and ponder as you're moving through your days. Because part of the act of revolution involves getting to know yourself at this very moment in time and honoring the selves that you've been, while having compassion for all of the mistakes that you have made and all the experiences that you have and all of the life that you've lived. This is how we're going to really combat the fear and the fascism and the anger and the violence, is for us to acknowledge that we carry the medicine that we need the most within all of us. So I just want to leave you with one more thought. We are here to make an impact in our lives and in the lives of other people. We are here to be woven and connected. And to build that web of connection is an act of graceful revolution. Reach out to yourself. Reach out to your friends. Reach out to your family, if you still talk to them. Reach out to people in your community. Tell them exactly what's happening in your life at this moment. Do not fear your story. Do not fear your wisdom. Know that you carry the beauty and the bounty of this earth, of the worms and the bugs and the birds and the bees and the baby lambs. I love the baby lambs. That this season of spring is inviting you to push up out of the ground and move your head to the sun and be free. I love you. Have a great day.